Hello, my name is Deborah Maclaren from LoveReading, and I'm here today to talk to the gorgeous Helen Lederer. Before we dive in and talk to Helen, let me remind us all what a wonder she is. So Helen is a comedy writer with a huge portfolio that includes writing and performing her own material, not only as a stand-up comedian, but also as a comedy novelist and contributor to many, many respected publications. She has shared stages with comedy pioneers like Ben Elton and John Hegley and Rik Mayall and Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders. I mean, it's ridiculous how brilliant her career has been, from the iconic Absolutely Fabulous, of which I was just a huge fan, to the young ones, to Bottom, to Happy Families, Naked Video, French and Saunders, Girls on Top. She's written radio shows and performed on the West End and done children's TV. She's done it all with her inimitable style. Her first comedy novel, Losing It, was nominated for the P.G. Wodehouse Prize, and that partly led her to launch her own Comedy Women in Print Prize, of which we are massive supporters here at LoveReading. We're here today to talk about many things. I mean, we need to cram it all in. There's so much. Actually, we're here to talk about Helen's new book, Not That I'm Bitter. It is out on the 11th of April. It's published by Mirror Books. Here we are.
Oh, look, Mirror, did you notice that? Mirror, I'm mirroring you already. We're in sync.
Loving it, loving it. Helen, it's fabulous to see you as always. Welcome, welcome.
Well, it's lovely to be here, and we must do a love-in, and for all your lovely people who support you. I mean, you've supported me and CWIP, and I think you mentioned to me Mirror Books because it was a joy to get a publisher. I mean, that is a journey in itself nowadays. And when you did that list of things, oh my God, I think it just means that I'm quite old. I mean, Lulu is a little bit older than me, but yeah, I was there. I think I was there during a lot of other people's activities. So the book has kind of put the fact, it should have been called I Was There. But yeah, it's trying to collect it all up, isn't it?
Oh my goodness, and there is so much to unpack in here. But this, I mean, you've written many books, but this is the first full account of your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
I loved sharing the journey, but I think what is clear, and you were there, but what is clear is you were always destined for a life in the limelight, weren't you?
Well, it's odd you say that. I mean, I'd love to know what you thought of it, Deborah, because it is quite anxious making when you actually finally go, okay, this is a memoir, because obviously it's my truth in that I haven't made it up. But we did get a lawyer to check it all. And so I think when I remember doing Losing It, the novel, obviously there's that. I now understand about authors, you know, beware an author when they have a book coming out, because you're exposing, it's a very truthful book. And somebody said alarmingly truthful, which isn't really a compliment at all. It's like that awkward person in the room who insists on sort of telling you everything about their bowel movements, and you kind of go too much. So I suppose I'm saying this with some bitterness, but in an ironic way, that if I was more famous, I probably wouldn't have had to have been so revealing, because a very famous person would just have been allowed to just maybe just surface it. But I wrote it all, and then the publisher, Mirror Books, actually said don't change anything.
Yeah.
So I was thinking I can take that out if it makes people uncomfortable, but they didn't want me to take anything out.
No, I love the fact. Oh, no, not at all. It's fascinating because you're like, no way, and you don't hold back, and I think that is, you know what, it is endearing. And I always say this of you, you are very open, you say it as it is, and I think not enough people do that. So there are some shots in there.
Yeah.
But I think you also say in there, Helen, that you say, look, some of the famous people I met became my friends. Some didn't. Some of them maybe don't like me. Some of them do. Some are nice. I love this. Some of them I slept with, but that was what was expected. So talk us through that. I mean, you didn't hold back.
No, I don't, and I'm not saying anything to be sensationalist. I'm just getting into my life and rummaging about in those times, and the times were early 80s, and when one is talking to a person, a younger person, well, you're younger than me, but a younger person or a person who's lived through another time, it's a reminder how times have changed. And so I can only describe myself, my memories of myself and my actions then. And I'm, you know, I don't think behavior is the same. I don't know, maybe people don't have sex nowadays. I don't know. Or that's a terrible, I mean, if they do, hurrah. But it needs to be kind of absorbed in a kind of authenticity. I was just hoping that I wanted to be able to make people laugh when they read it. But in order to do that, you have to be truthful, as truthful as you can be, for it to be funny.
But you're absolutely right. And it was a different time. And I think you look at some of the shows that were on TV in the 80s, in the 90s, and they would just never ever appear today. You know, they just wouldn't.
No. And women didn't tend to I cited the ones that did, because the women stood out of the women who got championed, and they gave quite deservedly Emma Thompson, wonderful Emma Thompson, a show where I think she directed things up to a point, and then of course French and Saunders got their show. But in those days, that was it, that was the box ticked. So other women who led their own shows were impressionists and dancers. So if you think about today, that it's normal, like one of the judges for CWIP, Lolly Adiphobe, I mean, she's written ghosting, people are writing their own material. Phoebe, you know, there still aren't that many, but it's normal now. And you had to sort of beg. And then I remember going into John Plowman with my script idea of a political thing about New Labour, and he said, "Oh, that's great, we've got that an idea in for Dawn French." So, and that was it. I just was shown the door quite routinely. I mean, no debate, because there is, you know, that's not that I'm bitter. I'm not bitter, but it's like, what does a person do, or what did you do in your work environment when you go, "I'd like to do this, but those jobs are taken"? What do you do?
But you did absolutely help pave the way. I mean, the bravery it must have taken. You know, you did several other things first, didn't you? You were a social worker.
Wasn't very good. I tried. I thought my sort of thing is, social workers get such bad press. Probably teachers and social workers just, you know, and they do really good work. And but I sort of said, well, there are worse things to do than try and help people. Sort of justifying it. But I always knew that this is what I wanted to do, but not everyone finds that or has the opportunity to go for it. I think it's quite a privilege to survive in the artistic field, because it's so unreliable.
Well, it made me chuckle. So you've got to tell us the story of age 10 Miss Thomas. Talk to us about Miss Thomas.
Oh, I'm so glad you like that bit. Oh my God, because again, it's so weird about humor though, Deborah, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, when you're with a kindred spirit, then you'll say a word, because comedy and humor is all about recognition. So, and then you know, you sense people getting it, and then you also sense people looking quite quizzical. And I just think I'm just one of those people that I'm used to people slightly walking away from me at book launches, slightly alarmed in a polite manner, but nevertheless walking away, because I say too much. But then when you find that person who gets the words, to me, that's worth the journey. So yes, age 10 in Blackheath High School, junior school, because I had asthma, I had a lot of time off school, and I just had quite an imagination. So I came up with this game called the sanitary towel game. Can't even say sanitary towel. Who says that word anymore? Now that word can alarm people a lot. Just the word sanitary towel is a bit alarming. And I think people go, why did you have to put the sanitary towel game in your book and so early on? And then, yeah, it wasn't a very imaginative game. One person was Dr. White, I was Dr. White because it was my game, Dr. Green, Dr. Brown, and yes, so I think you have to read it. But it's just that thing about, we thought we were being incredibly daring in the fiction library doing the game, and then laughed so much, like that thing where you just cannot stop, you just laugh. And then found out Miss Thomas came in, and then the others were let out, and I had to come up with a lie. So I lied. I thought, oh, I've got to have something wrong with me. Oh, and then I said, the thing is, my grandmother's dying. Did I say she was dead or dying? And obviously she wasn't. She was in rude health. And then Miss Thomas looked at me with great pity after that, and I felt really guilty. So, it can happen to anyone, can't it? You tell one lie, you have to say, it's bad. But it wasn't to be naughty. It was just to survive, really, and to have fun.
And that's, you always did that. You say in there that you spent most of your childhood making other people laugh and then getting told off for it. It was like, stop showing off, Helen.
Showing off. So you do, and then with the book, and I tried, thank you for calling it a journey, because I try and look back at the end, because there is such a mixture of, if society also is telling you at the time that it takes a bit of audacity, it's not quite right for women to be on stage and think they're funny, call themselves, they're called a comedian, so already there's an assumption, and because it wasn't normal then. So I've always been ashamed of what I'm doing, not being able to shout about it. And then also another thing we all do, we make comparisons, because obviously the elites, which I'm not part of, hence the book, and there has to be a system of elites, and you have to survive. And so the best people are at the top, and not the best people are at the top, and they stay there, and that's the system. But it isn't an easy life, in the sense that you feel that you are showing off somewhat, and unless you're really good, it's not an easy job to talk about, because people expect you to be funny, and then they don't like you when you're funny because you're different.
Well, I think that's really interesting, because you said earlier, Helen, I feel very, I can't remember the exact word, but it's something like, I'm blessed to be part of it. But it wasn't an easy journey by any stretch of the imagination, was it? I mean, you're really well known for your unique wit and that observational humor. But that's the other thing about this book. It is not all sweetness and light by any stretch. Is it?
Were you surprised when you read it? Because you know me a bit.
Yeah, I mean, totally, because you don't know. You see this funny woman, that I've loved since Catriona in Ab Fab. I was a massive Ab Fab fan. And you don't know until you start to see you scratching beneath the surface and go, gosh, actually, this is tough, Did
it make you laugh?
Yeah, absolutely. It did, but there were bits that were really sad as well. Yeah. And it really, you went through the whole range of emotions reading it.
I didn't know how else. This is interesting to get this feedback, because I'm at the beginning of this, so I have no idea. And it was a case of jumping in. And that is actually a bit of how it feels like when you go on stage. I was just remembering that feeling. It's like, I may drown. You just got to go. You have a choice. You don't go on stage, which happened to me a couple of times. I don't think I'll do this tonight. And that's so bad. But I went on later, or I sorted it, ish, guilt already. But it shows the pressure. Yeah, one is, I am my harshest critic, I think. And making comparisons with others it is the kind of business where there are few jobs. And at the time, because French and Saunders and the comic strip were there, There weren't. I was there a bit before. I always remind Janie Claire this. I was there before you, and I'm older. And which is less good now, isn't it? But there were I think there were 3 of us. The other 2 were called Jenny, and so I used to say that was quite helpful for the compare, so they could remember our names. 2 of them were Jenny, and then it changed. It did change. Jo Brand after us, although she was there. But ultimately, I wanted to do it so passionately. That's what I try and remember. Why did I do this? And remember when we're all young and at that stage where you found your thing, you don't expect to be made happy by it. I mean, that's like, what's happiness about? You just want it. And I just remember wanting it. So I marvel at that blind ambition, really, that I just took the knocks and went back for more.
You really did. I mean, you say I knew from an early age that my ideal job would have to be in the field of public humiliation. You just the anxiety you experienced before these shows, Helen, were horrific.
Yeah. Well, I think when I went to a therapist, I did do a few little jaunts into different counsellor, like lowbrow, highbrow. I'm up for it. Hypnotic. I'll buy it. I'll do it. One of them said, yes, I had above average anxiety. Like I was supposed to be pleased with that. So maybe that's something I have, but then the anxiety makes everything sharper. I mean, I'm amazed. You see, now I will be doing literary festivals, and that is my landscape, because you don't have to convince anyone. But when you're young and there is no other route, there is no other way to get your equity card. And I just wanted to write and perform, which is what I'd done as a child. So I don't think you question the difficulties. You just try and get more gigs.
Get on with it. Yeah.
And now, if I'm not on certain programs, which I'm not, I can't make those kitchen programs. Apparently, my profile. You just go, if people don't want me to remark at how somebody's pouring oil over their salad and marveling at it, if I don't fit that profile, so be it. Who wants to go to a party if you're not invited? So that is a beauty of getting older and just going, I'm not one of the group. And there are many people who are not part of the group, and I like those people. So so maybe it's an encouragement to be who you are, really, and not be a winner.
But you've always been there. I mean, we said at the beginning, you've always been there. And that in itself, I mean, can we just talk about AbFab for a minute? Because that was an absolute juggernaut of a programme, wasn't it, in the 90s? So 1992, day one of AbFab, and you're sitting there and there's Joanna Lumley and Jennifer Saunders and your director. I've actually got a little clip that I'm going to show in a minute, so people who never met Catriona can understand. Oh, she was hilarious.
It's Catriona.
Wow.
Do something on a car.
What?
Do something about a car. I need a new car, a nice one, no rubbish.
Right.
And something about how lovely champagne is.
Well, we could tie that in with some glasses. A friend of mine's got a shop with some lovely glasses.
Oh, that sounds good. It's expensive. How do you mean? Oh, well, does it cost a lot?
That's so wonderful. But it makes me happy to hear people's genuine love for that program and what it meant to people. And then you're reminded the epochs that without comedy, without something that we can identify with and hang on to, that defines us.
Oh,
and
it unites us, doesn't it?
And AbFab, I think, made so many people happy. And at the time, I had no idea. I just sort of turned up and tried to get it right, everyone's very famous and their names begin with J, looking back, it was a complete honor, but, you at the time, you just crack on, don't you? And try not to get in the way, not to be too big, and just manage it as best you can. I was very self-conscious and aware that the principles, as John Plowman called them, quite rightly, they were there, and lovely Harriet Thorpe and myself were the weird ways Sloane Rangers, a word that nobody uses now, but
No.
they were a species at the time.
Hilariously clueless. Oh,
Yeah.
hilariously clueless. But
but-
everyone wanted to be part of it, Helen, didn't they? I mean, you had Elton John, that singer.
Oh yes, oh yes. No, interesting. Talking about Lulu, she was there, and then Baby Spice was in it. And then the intellectuals wanted to be in it, like Kirsty Walk and Mark Commode, who did this amazing film program. I remember being in the makeup room at BBC studios, doing the live show. And they were getting in a tears, and I was really trying. Well, not that much for tears; they're pros, but they were so excited. So I was able to go, "Oh no, it's fine, don't we?" Just like, yeah, just do what I did. Not quite, but it became, people wanted to be parodied in a parody. It was like, whoa, that was, and because she could do it. I mean, it was like a Quality Street box, wasn't it? Like, think of something and it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. It broke all the rules, didn't it? It broke all the rules. It's just brilliant. And you've done lots of TV over the years. Do any in particular stand out? I mean, you had the young ones. You had Bottom. Oh, Bottom.
Yes.
Natasha. Was it Princess Natasha? Was it?
Yeah, a lot of names. And what's fascinating about Bottom again is that there are so many people who love that program. There are fan clubs, there are podcasts. I've been invited to talk about it. It touched a nerve in a different way. And then the Rik and Aid went round university circuit, and that spoke to people, that their relationship, that sort of anarchy, innocence, craziness. And again, I don't know, they just asked me to do that. So there is something for being, maybe all those gigs I did that were really awful, some good ones, but some less good ones. Just, but those were my jewels, I suppose, that I didn't ask for, but sometimes you get rewarded. And at the time, again, Rik Mayall, the sexiest man and kindest man ever. Oh my God, a little bit of a chapter about Rik.
A little bit.
Discretion. But those relationships with people, if you could call them that, were very exciting, but very innocent and very of the time and very respectful. And I hope that the trick is, like, I hope I can communicate this. Again, I had an interview with a very intelligent, modern, intellectual interviewer, like you, obviously. And I just thought, oh my God. And then she said, "Are you angry?" And I was thinking, not about those relationships, but about some of the other things. And I thought, should I be? And so that's where it kind of goes into a different place. I'm just saying, I'm not angry. The interviewer thought maybe there was repressed trauma. I don't know. The reader can decide. I just know that I, like that awkward aunt, I've just put it all in a book. And I'm just holding my breath now.
But I think as well, you talk a lot about your therapy journey, as you go through your life and where you needed it or tried different things. But you do say, don't you? I think that probably there was an element of this being quite therapeutic to get it down on the page.
I think, well, again, it's that thing of there are books and books, and I mean, at the front of the book, which this is a bit of a passive aggressive thing I did. I got someone to put, it's like, I put my CV in there in case anyone goes, who is she? Because I know I'm niche. And so I think it was, I'm this age now. Did I do those things? Then I discovered there was at University of Kent, there's actually archives. So there were real tickets that I really sold in real venues. So, because some of it I've just forgotten, and maybe I have blanked out some of the stuff. So it was a case of, hang on a minute, I did do Secret Policeman's Ball, I did do Hysteria, I did do stand-up. And then you go, well, who cares? Fair enough. But of those people who might be interested, it's in the book. So there's a little bit of if I don't do this, what's the point? So it's collecting up memories, and then ultimately anything I do, if I write anything, I just ultimately want to find a way to make it funny. That is the exciting thing for me. Please let this be humorous. Please let someone read this and then laugh.
But this,
to me,
this
that's
is,
what I love so much.
and you've nailed it. You've absolutely nailed it, Helen. And I think what is quite I suppose what you can really see from this, and what is very clear as you're reading, is you can obviously write as well as perform. You know, so it's not that these things that you've done over the years, you've always been given a script and you know you get on with it, but you created a lot of BBC comedy sketches over the years, the Girl at the Bar and Naked Video. But this is what, your fourth book? Is this your fourth book?
Yeah, it is. It's my first and last memoir. I mean, when you get to this age, you look back and you go, I don't feel I've done enough. I've been there and I've been chasing things. And then I sulked a lot in my 40s because I didn't get the sitcom. And so maybe that's a lesson to some people, like maybe try not to sulk. Like, you know, I look back and go, oh, I wish I hadn't sulked. What a waste of time. I could have written 2 more books. But it just, I've always wanted to write, but I've never belonged in a situation where I think that where I have the magic agent who goes, Helen, you are important. We will fix everything for you. You don't have to worry. All you have to do is sit there and we'll arrange for you to be on TV and taken to the. I'm just a worker, I think. And a worker who's managed to do some stuff. And what I never feel I completely deserve the accolade, because I was thinking I'm a small player, but there's a merit to being a small player, because at least I was invited to do it. At least I was there.
But this is you, right? You always, it's like, give yourself some credit. You don't do this.
I feel that's not allowed. That's odd. Because
Helen,
you don't want to be boastful. And that's another thing about women, don't you think? Like, you can go on courses to ask for money, I've noticed. And younger women are much better. Having dealing with younger women professionals, blooming heck, they're direct. And my generation is, oh no, you know, just avoid the awkward subject. So I do find it difficult. I do find it difficult to take stuff, because I do all the things that I say other people shouldn't do. I do, which is why I hope it's relatable and there's evidence of it. So I'm not just saying it.
No, not at all.
Unbearable examples of where I get things wrong, and you know, the fun in that.
But you're right. I mean, you say you're a worker. You are so hardworking, and you've done it all. I mean, you had your book, which was coping with Helen Lederer.
Yes, the first parody book I did with 2 lovely other writers, Richard O'Brien and Roger Planer, and that was, I do say I was either the wrong place at the right time or the right place at the wrong time, but nobody else seemed to be doing parody books. And we'd seen Jane Asher with her lovely tray of canapes called Easy Entertaining. So the cover of Coping was Coping with Helen Lederer. We had sort of licorice, all sorts and stuff with the tomato jus or so. But it's quite fun to look at that now, because there was irony there, like ideal dinner party conversation, and it's very 80s, but it was sending up the how-to genre, and it was just a fun, when you get a little menu, a template like that, it's fun to romp through it.
And then you had Single Minding. I mean, you didn't have an auspicious start to your marriage and parenting, did you? That was
that was interesting, Deborah, because your face, because I wasn't married for very long, and I think I met Hannah's father, got married, got pregnant, got married, got divorced in a very, like, over in about 18 months or so. But I was doing a show, and then a Hodder and Stoughton person asked me to write a funny book about single parenting. Now, again, in those days, no such thing. I mean, it's a difficult subject anyway. But I thought, somebody's going to write. And I knocked it out in 6 months, like intense, but I was still quite raw. And so I look back at that book and I go, oh dear, some of it was very funny, but some of it was a bit very, I mean, if you, this is tempered, but they didn't know where to book it, put it in the bookshops. Was it health? Was it humor?
Yeah.
And also
yes.
society didn't really know how to interview me. I had a lovely interview with Alan Titchmarsh, and people are quite perplexed that here I am turning up, talking about single parenting with a kind of a humor. And they're going, but hang on a minute, why are you in that position?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously, nobody sets out to, well, largely not set up. So it's a difficult one. And I think, again, that would be, since there have been sitcoms on the subject and people talk about it differently, it was just at the time, it was like, justify yourself, you know?
Yeah, very different landscape, very different
Yeah.
landscape. And what does Hannah think about the book? What does your daughter Hannah think of?
Well, I gave her the bits, good question. I gave her the bits about her to get her permission. And she very beautifully gave me her permission, and she says she can't wait to read it. And I have put, just to cover myself, I have devoted it to her. This is my cut, it's my insurance. To Hannah, okay? And you know, she's a supporter, I know, and she knows how important it is. So with our children, well, I've only got one, but you've got more. I'm not being competitive, but I think that she knows how important it is. Here I am doing it.
Absolutely.
So she's a supporter, and I do go there, but she does give me her blessing.
Oh, bless her. That's lovely. That's lovely. And then prior to this, you had Losing It, which was your first comedy novel. Now, because of that, and that was partly the reason that led you to launch the Comedy Women in Prize, wasn't it? So talk to us about that.
Well, so I found happiness, really. I mean, happiness isn't a great big thing for me, but I don't, as I said, expect it, but who does, really? But I loved writing Losing It. It was just, I thought, oh my God, I found what I want to do. And then the fact I got nominated for the PG Woodhouse was, I've never been nominated. I'm just not that kind of person. So that meant so much. And then I was a judge on a few prizes. And then I thought I'd quite like to get a prize for this. I mean, I know that, again, that's arrogant, but that maybe I'm an ideas person, you see. That might sound arrogant, but you go, if you're in for a penny, in for a pound, if you're doing, love reading, why wouldn't you make love reading the best it can be? I mean, you got to go for it. It's normal to want the best, and foolish to not go for it. Anyway, so there was no prize for witty women's fiction at the time. Years ago, there'd been one for witty romantic fiction, which was interesting how the tides changed then. Might be changing back again now. And so madly, I decided to set up Comedy Women in Print, and you were one of our first supporters, which I'll never forget, because by doing it as a passion project, the people who've come on board, and they are very, very, it's like a very special room of people, because what's in it for other people. And at the beginning of a journey, there's no way of knowing it's going to work. So even bigger risk to put their names to it. And because Marian Keyes, I DM'd her on Twitter, and she had been cross that that year, the later year, PG Woodhouse hadn't awarded anyone a prize. She was being quite vocal about the need for recognition. So she came on board, and that was a game changer. And then I realized you need, icons, you need famous people, because that's the language that people understand more so than ever before.
Yeah. But it's not been an easy journey. So this was 2018, and it's not easy launching a prize, is it? I mean, bless you, you've been cap in hand, and worked so hard.
Begging
with your begging.
Humiliation is hilarious. I do sort of put it in the end of the book, where you're writing to agents that have either chucked you or I've chucked. I mean, you go, hi, anyway, lovely. And it's like you really have to rummage about in a bit of mess, because you have to go, well, I can't get to this very important person other than through you. So you have to, because this is quite an ego-driven world I'm in, that was the challenge, to be very, very humble, and people not to reply or be very dismissive, quite hurtful.
But Helen, I mean, let's just take a look at that for a minute, though. You have created an incredible prize for women who were underrepresented at the time. And I know it's been tough, but totally selflessly, you've done this. And because of it, you're right, the love in the room on those awards evenings, I've never seen anything. I mean, it was just incredible.
Because people's journeys were so authentic, because an unpublished writer, the dream ticket, I mean, not obviously one winner, but a few runners up, became published. And also the generosity of the published, you know, who had streets ahead, were there as well, were also recognized. But because it was done through sheer passion, I suppose, of the individuals involved, it hadn't become a great big commercial affair where there was more at stake. The downside of that is it would be nice for it to become a bit more commercial, for it to have legs to grow, so that I don't go completely nuts again. But there's no way we can stop Comedy Women in Print now, because it's there. So
no way.
Going again. And after the memoir, you know, I will be starting again.
Brilliant. And so is it right, am I right in remembering this, that you have, the prize has enabled 24 authors to become published?
Yes, probably more now. And with the launch of the book, I'm inviting some of them, because I'm so bad at admin. I need people to tell me that they've become published, but it moves along, because just to be longlisted or shortlisted, it does give a reliable status to any agent and publisher. So it's a wider canvas, so people do continue and to write more books.
Yes.
I'd like to think it helped.
So we need to just briefly talk about this. So you've also got the Book of Witty Women, which is an anthology that showcases the very best in humorous short story writing by lots of women who've been involved in.
Oh, it's so exciting. So Farrago, I think their strapline is stories to make you smile. They approached, and I thought, great, what's not to like? So the 12 shortlisted short story writers, that'll be a good tongue twister, when I've had a few, which I will be soon. Not yet, it's too early in the morning. So they are in a book, the Book of Witty Women, which can be bought on Amazon. And LoveReading. And LoveReading. So totally there. And then very kindly, Kathy let Shadia Azmet and Lucy Vine put their stories in as well, to support and sparkle. And I think short stories are lovely for holidays. And there is literally something for, you know, some are surreal, some are observant. It's a mixed bag, which is good. Which is really good for women's humour, because we have to broaden the canvas. It's not just one voice now.
No, it's no, it looks fab, and I can't wait to read it. That's out on the 25th of April.
Yes, it is.
Brilliant. So we have to talk about your latest foray on the telly.
I was worrying what you were going to say, like your bank balance, because you said it in a very serious voice. I thought, well, okay.
No, I watched you this week on Corrie drinking 2-for-1 cocktails in the Chariot Square Hotel with none other than Ken Barlow.
Oh, he's lovely. He is a lovely man. I got a hug after the filming.
Brilliant.
Just saying. That was a joy. That was a joy. And I haven't watched all the episodes of Coronation Street ever since it began, I have to say. So there was a bit of Googling going on, but the Sue Delaney and Simon, who were there in the scene,
Yeah.
were hilarious.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I loved it.
you know, I'm doing that.
Me
Maybe
too.
that somebody said maybe you're some kind of tarot card reader. I was going, yes, that's good. Let's develop that.
Loved it.
It may, there was a bit of a, I think I was on Gogglebox. Well, I know I was. Somebody told me that, and I did nothing. You know, the job came to me. I didn't ask. I did it, and there's been a little bit of noise about it.
Well, I hope we see more of Elspeth. I think she was great, and now I really
Bold.
I bet she is.
And one of those, a woman who, I mean, that thing of sending a drink over to someone.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminded me when I was in my 30s. You know, I was
Oh.
bold then. I was bold, and then you
Oh.
lose it.
Poor Steve McDonald, though, God love him. You know, Ken's getting picked up by Elspeth,
I
sending a
know.
drink over, and Steve's left out in the cold.
I know. But hey, tough. You know what I mean?
Love it. I love it. I love it. I hope you and Ken meet again.
I
I
think
do.
there's something. I think he wouldn't be against it.
That would be brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next? What is next? Obviously, you're going to be promoting the heck out of this book over the next coming weeks.
Yeah.
But what have we got to look forward to next year?
The promoting it will be. I'm loving to start the journey with you at Love Reading. Really, that I'm not just saying that there is a relationship between Love Reading. You've promoted Losing It, promoted CWIP, and the Book of Witty Women. And without people doing that, we have to, it's a community. So I'm discovering so many more things. Like there's a thing called Bookstagram.
Yeah.
And there's a whole world. I want to be part of it. I want, let me be part of it. Then gearing up for CWIP 2025, starting in 2024. So we're starting CWIP again. Getting the sparkle in, trying to do something different each time. Oh, and I want to do some acting, Deborah, now. Oh. I just want to do a bit of acting, a bit of showing off now because I can.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, we can't wait to see what you do next, Helen. We are huge fans here at Love Reading. I love this book, and I hope it does all that it deserves to. I really do. Not that I'm bitter. Helen Lederer by Mirror Books. It is out on the 11th of April. Grab your copy now. Helen, thanks for joining me today.
I love being here. I love reading. 2 loves.